Staying with Eskom, it has announced a settlement agreement to recover monies paid out to consultancy firm McKinsey. The firm will now pay back the 1 billion rand it paid to it by Eskom under the turnaround program. The board says the deal is in line with its mandate to address governance-related matters with urgency. The process has seen several executives and senior managers depart on the back of serious allegations of misconduct. Alongside the disciplinary processes relating to cleaning up, there has also been great emphasis on recovering all monies that were paid irregularly. Well, joining us now on the phone line for some details on the matter is energy expert Mr. Chris Yelland. Good morning to you, Mr. Yelland. Thank you very much for joining us here on Afro Worldview. We are going to be chatting around various issues on Eskom. First and foremost, just your reaction to the appointment of Mr. Oberholzer as the new Chief Operating Officer at Eskom.
I think it's an important development, and we're still, of course, waiting for the appointment of a permanent Chief Financial Officer. So it seems that Eskom, at an operational level, there's been some changes in the way Eskom is going to be managed, with the CEO probably handling the more strategic issues, the COO handling the operational issues, and the CFO handling the financial issues. So I think it's a strengthening of the resources at Eskom executive level.
We do know that Mr. Oberholzer has over 24 years of experience in the company. How important do you think it is to fill these positions with people who have vast experience and know what they're doing?
I think it is very important from a continuity point of view, a business continuity point of view. The new CEO, that's Mr. Pakamani, has got deep business experience and strategic level experience at that, but has not had a deep experience within the Eskom organization itself. So from an operational point of view, I do think it's important to have somebody with the operational experience and knowledge, and Mr. Oberholzer certainly comes with that. Of course, I do think it's also vitally important to have a strategic leadership as in the position of Mr. Pakamani, because Eskom is facing several strategic issues and has to look closely at the deep restructuring in order to prepare this utility to become a utility of the future and not a utility of the past. So I think the combination of a strategic leader with an operational leader is an interesting and a good move.
Mr. Yelland, you speak of deep restructuring. We do know that Eskom's board was mandated to bring more stability to the power utility. Do you think we are on the right track here? Well,
we have yet to hear what Eskom's new vision is for the future. We know that the board is looking at this very time. We know that the Department of Public Enterprise is looking at it, and even at the cabinet level. So I think we need to just wait and see. But I do think it's absolutely critical that Eskom should reinvent itself. It is not business as usual. The business model of Eskom is not functional. It's not able to adequately recover its costs. There are deep inefficiencies in the way it is structured. The organization is so big and large that it is well past the economies of scale and has moved into what we know as the diseconomies of scale, the inefficiencies that result from a huge organization like Eskom.
Mr. Yelland, just briefly shifting gears and moving over to the ongoing wage negotiations and the deadlocks that we've seen there. Just talk us through where we are currently with regards to those negotiations. Latest reports are saying that Eskom has now increased its wage offer to 7% for 2018.
That's right, and it looks like they're reaching the stage where they are close to a settlement, and I have no doubt that a settlement will in fact be reached probably in the next few days or weeks. So it's very close at the moment, and I must say that this is not going to solve Eskom's problems in any way. This is if it gets accepted, as it's likely to be, it's a wage increase significantly higher than the inflation rate, and that puts further increasing pressure on Eskom's costs. And we know that Eskom's costs have been going up very significantly, much faster. In other words, the rise in costs is meaning that Eskom is unable to produce adequate financial results. And we're expecting to see shortly Eskom announce its annual financial results for the year ending 31st of March. Salaries and wages are the biggest or second biggest cost item on Eskom's income statement. And this is going to worsen its already poor position. We're expecting Eskom to move into a serious loss position probably with a qualified audit and some 30 billion rand flagged of irregular expenditure. So what we're seeing here is just a continuation of upward remuneration way above the inflation rate, and the reality is, in fact, that Eskom people, I'm not talking about workers, I'm talking about Eskom people overall, are very highly paid, and the staff numbers are very much higher than they should be. So, in fact, the next step, I do think, is going to be seriously looking at how to reduce its staff numbers, because the problem with this new wage settlement, once it comes, is not solving the problem of Eskom's spiraling remuneration costs in the face of declining sales volumes of its product, namely kilowatt hours.
Just lastly, Mr. Yellen, let's chat briefly about McKinsey and the announcement now that a settlement agreement to recover that money paid out to McKinsey will be dealt with now. Just your initial reaction to this news.
Of course, it is extremely welcome and long overdue. It was announced months and months ago that McKinsey intended to repay this money. It was announced in Parliament by the CEO of McKinsey, and we've been waiting for this to happen, and it looks like it's come to fruit. So well done to the people at Eskom for pursuing this and reaching a settlement to recover the money. The next step for Eskom, of course, is to recover the 500 million rand from Trillian, which was part of this McKinsey deal. McKinsey effectively used Trillian as a subcontractor and then told Eskom to pay its subcontractor directly instead of paying it through McKinsey. So Eskom now has to try and recover this money, 500 million, from Trillian itself, and it doesn't look like that Trillian are coming to the table in the same way that McKinsey did. So I think it's going to be a harder battle to recover the matter from Trillian, but something that Eskom says that it is pursuing.
All right, Mr. Yellen, thank you very much for your time this morning and unpacking these details around Eskom with us this morning. We appreciate your time. That was energy expert Mr. Chris Yellen just chatting to us about some of the issues that Eskom is going through or dealing with right now. One of that is obviously the ongoing wage negotiations, also the new appointments in the energy firm, and also that issue around McKinsey and Eskom having now announced a settlement agreement to recover that money paid out to the consultancy firm. But stay tuned to Afro World View for further discussions and developments.